Hello, it is Friday the 27th, and today is my departure day. I've been at the Five Corners Motel. Can't remember if I've already said this, but when I got here, Nancy had a bottle of foaming bubble bath that had Epsom salts, eucalyptus, and something else in it. And she put me in the room that had the deep soaking tub, and it was such a luxury. I did that both nights while I was here. And she took us to the dollar store and the post office, and she had some homemade chili there for us. She was going to buy us grinders the first night we were here, but I went to bed early. I was just so exhausted. I was in bed by 5. So anyway, it's sort of bittersweet to leave. We've made friends with Nancy and Henry, and I will miss them very much. I will never forget what Nancy did for me, and she is a very good person and a good friend. And Henry makes the best coffee. He grinds the beans fresh every day, and we've had excellent coffee while we've been here. So we will depart at 10 till 8 on the bus, which picks up at the convenience store right next to the motel. It will take us several hours to get into Boston, and then when we get to Boston, we will have 20 minutes to get from Boston South bus station to the train station, which is right next door. So I'm a little nervous about that and hoping we make it on time, and I'm also very excited about riding the train, and I will try to document that for you as well. And so I will talk to you later. Hello, I am now back at home. I'm currently walking on our dirt and gravel road. I can mention dates now that I am home and not on the trail anymore. I started my hike on March 5th, and I completed my hike on September the 24th. Today is October the 3rd. I completed my hike on Tuesday, September 24th, on Wednesday, September 25th. Let It Be and I took a shortcut from Gentian Pond to Gorham. I had already done the 11.8 miles on the trail from Gorham to Gentian Pond twice, once going there, once going back to Gorham. So I didn't need to do that anymore. While we were in the 100-mile wilderness after I flipped up to Katahdin and all through Maine, we had about one night of rain. There was one morning where it was kind of misty, but most of the time when we were hiking, it was not raining. There were some days toward the end where it was cloudy, but for the most part, we had sunny skies. On that Wednesday, when we hiked out, it started raining. And I have to tell you, I don't believe that was a coincidence, that I had all of that good weather while I was hiking through Maine until I finished my hike. On Wednesday night and Thursday night, I stayed at the Five Corners Motel, where my friend Nancy is the manager there. Let It Be had become friends with Henry, her boyfriend, and I had become friends with Nancy. Nancy is the one who drove us up to Katahdin, a 5-hour drive to take us there, and she only charged me the cost of gas. I did, of course, give her more than she asked for because it meant so much to me, and her time was worth much more than just the cost of gas. She had told me at that time when I finished, if I finished and I came back to Gorham, she would give me a free night at the hotel, and she did indeed. We stayed Wednesday and Thursday. She also gave Let It Be a free night at the hotel also. We paid for Thursday night on both of our rooms, and then on Friday we left on the bus. We were able to get our train tickets changed from Saturday to Friday, and it was $100 more than what we had originally paid, but we had no choice. So we had to get on the bus from Gorham to Boston South Station. And from Boston South Station, we took the train to Chicago and then switched trains. And that took us the rest of the way home. I got off at Little Rock. He got off in Texas. We had about a 3-hour layover in Chicago where we were able to get off the train and get something to eat. Prior to that, the night before, we had like just an hour, and we were able to go to a little burger joint and get a hamburger and fries. The bus arrived at Boston South Station at about 12:20. That was the time it was supposed to arrive, and our train was supposed to have left at 12:50. Well, the bus got there early, and as it turns out, it was only 5 minutes. It was only about 5 minutes to get from the bus station to the train station. So we were on the train from about 1 o'clock and Friday and Saturday, and then I arrived in Little Rock at around 2:15. It was supposed to have arrived at 2:45, but it was early. Bud, in the meantime, had left our house and driven about 3 hours to get to Little Rock. He left at 8 because he didn't want to be driving late at night when he was really tired, for which I was very grateful. Didn't want him driving and nodding off. So he was already there when I got off the train, and we drove about 3 hours to get home. It was still dark when we arrived home. I think it was about 5 a.m. when we got home. I was hoping to get some film of our place and of Jake, my dog, and our reunion, and it was just dark, and I wasn't able to get any footage. And quite frankly, I was absolutely and totally exhausted. The train was a mile above riding on the bus. You didn't have to get off every hour or two in the wee hours of the morning, and it was a much more comfortable ride. The seats were larger. They had a footrest that came up, so it was kind of like you were sitting in a recliner. They had a little snack car on the train where you could buy stuff for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. They were like, bagels, a croissant sandwich with egg and sausage, coffee cake, bagels, donut, did I say coffee cake? Muffins. For lunch they had 2 different kinds of sandwiches that could be heated. And for supper I think there were burgers and maybe something else. But as it turned out, we were able to get our evening meal off the train, or our midday meal off the train. We were able to get one good meal off the train on Friday and Saturday. So those are all the details I can think about on the train. If you have any questions about that, let me know. I did enjoy my ride on the train. It was definitely a new experience. And I think that from now on, if there is a route, and there's not a route to every place, I will definitely take the train as opposed to the bus if I have to make that choice. Coming home has been an interesting experience this time. I think it has been different this time because I feel as though I made a lot of friends on the trail. Not only people working at hostels, trail angels, but people that I leapfrogged with who knew me and I knew them. And I was so touched by the fact that they were glad when they met me when I was going south and they were still going north, to find that I was still on the trail. And friendships tend to form quickly on the trail, and I'm speculating it's because all of our masks are down. We're not trying to impress anybody. We're all on equal footing. For the most part, we don't know what people do in real life or what they're like in real life. And we're all stinky, we're all dirty, and we all have one common goal. And I guess it's for that reason that friendships form quickly. The thing that I am struggling with, in a way, it's kind of like if you've ever deleted Facebook, you have all of these friends that you're in contact with, but the minute you delete your Facebook, they're all gone. So you're left wondering, was it real or was it not? I believe that what we experienced out on the trail was much more real than what goes on at Facebook, because we were all stripped bare. We didn't hide anything. People were more apt to cry in front of other people out there or express what they were feeling, even if it was negative. And it was maybe in a way sort of a communal thing. It was definitely a community. Hikers have their own culture out there. And as I was trying to explain to someone else, we're all dirty, we're all stinky, we're all nomads, we're all living out in the woods. We are experiencing the same thing. And then, boom, you're thrown back into normal society and everything is different. So you're left wondering, even though you were not being any kind of a different person out there than you would be in normal life, you're left wondering, okay, am I that hiker trash that was out there in the woods? I don't even know how to explain what I mean by that, except to say that it was a whole different culture. I tried to tell someone else that in a way it was a little bit like Tom Hanks' character in Castaway, where he was out there surviving, catching his own food, dealing with everything alone, and then boom, he's back in society and he's supposed to somehow fit back in when so much about him has changed, so much of the way he lived was so different to how he now has to live. And so I guess it's a little bit of a similar thing. It's kind of a shock. And I wasn't expecting it because it didn't hit me this hard on my first and second hike. And I'm not sure why. I sent my neighbor Bible study group an email saying that I didn't know when I would be ready to host the Bible study again because somebody else took it over while I was hiking. And I was trying to explain to them all of these things that I'm facing, and one of our neighbors who was a military veteran said, you know, that sounds an awful lot like how I felt when I came back from Iraq and Afghanistan. You know, I was telling them I don't want to eat trail food, but I don't really want to eat healthy. I need to go to the grocery store and I don't know what to buy. I'm dreading having to face the crowds and the sensory overload of Walmart. It hurts to sit. It hurts to walk. It hurts if I don't walk. There is just so much that I think is never talked about by those who return from a thru hike. It has been an adjustment for Bud and I to start living together again. We still love each other. I'm very glad to be at home. He's very glad to have me home. We're very glad to be with each other, but it's an adjustment. And I have another friend who was saying that what I was describing sounded a lot like a soldier who had been deployed and had to come back home again. And they actually had training for reintegrating and how to deal with the fact that your spouse might have changed while you were gone, and you have definitely changed. The spouse is running the household while you're gone, and everything that goes along with that. For me, Bud has been doing everything that I did, and so now I'm trying to take over some of the tasks that he's been doing that were mine before, and he has a definite way that he has done things, and I have a definite way that I want them done, and as I have done in the past. So that has caused a little bit of friction. And it's mostly those kind of things, you know, learning to live together. Again, we're both introverts, and so it might be a little more of an adjustment to us because we need our space. We're both very independent. We both have strong opinions. I mean, otherwise, we've always gotten along great and compromise, but it's just an adjustment. It's like relearning all over again. So that has been the major challenge with us. It's not any real big deal. It's just caused a little bit of friction. Those first few days I came home, I was absolutely exhausted. For those of you who have sports watches or fitness watches, my body battery was at 5 one evening, and in the teens the night before. So today is the second time I've walked. The first time I walked was on the 5th day after I got off the trail. I did not walk yesterday, and I am walking today. The first time I walked, I did 9 miles, and I was so sore. This kind of walking, steady, straight, flat walking, there are hills that I'm having to climb, but walking like this, one foot in front of the other fast, I did not do for a great part of Maine, because so much of it was going over roots or rocks or climbing mountains or going over boulders. So I was very sore. It is important to me to continue to walk because I know how important walking is not only for my physical health, but my mental and emotional health. I also do not want to lose everything I have gained in strength and stamina and muscle and body tone. Let It Be and I were discussing how if we were faced with getting in as good a shape as we are coming off of a through hike, ending in Maine, you know, there's no way that we would be able to do it. We would not be able to push us as hard as we had to out there in Maine to get from point A to point B by climbing mountains. So I do want to stay in good shape. I did cut out the sodas cold turkey after I got home. Cut out the honey buns and the Snickers when I got home. I waited until I got rid of all of my sour gummies before I quit those, and that was probably 3 days. I really got addicted to those toward the end, and it was probably just flat out sugar. But as far as eating, I would say I'm not eating any sugary goods. I did have some bananas, which to our way of eating healthy is a no-no. We try to eat low-carb berries if we're going to eat any kind of fruit, and just a low-carb diet in general. And we're still having tortillas, and I like to have grits and hash browns with my eggs. That is not on our diet either. Grits or hash browns, I should say. But I am just trying to, I guess, sort of ease into it rather than going cold turkey because everything has been such a shock. And again, I can't say why. It seems like so much more of a shock this time than it did last time. I think last time I gave myself some grace because I had a broken rib. And I knew there were things that I just couldn't do. The first hike, I was terribly depressed, mostly over failing. and also for not having the kind of hike that I'd wanted to have. I was just solely alone out there in the woods. And that's the way I wanted it, but it was not a satisfying experience for me. This time, I had lots of friends, 2 hiking partners. I had lots of supporters on my YouTube channel that meant the world to me. And that was, I think that was a much different experience for me, a much more satisfying experience. And as most of my regular followers know, I was trying to hike God's hike this time. Can't say I always succeeded. I told Let It Be, I said, you want to know what my goal, one of my goals was for this hike? I said, don't laugh. And I said, one of my goals was to chill and go with the flow. And he just nearly fell over laughing because I failed so miserably. And he was always so chill about everything. And I was always worried about this and wanted everything planned out to the detail. And I never really succeeded or made any progress in that goal. But one thing I am assured of is that this was God's hike. He showed me that in no uncertain terms, that it was Him who was orchestrating this hike and not me. And I think most of you know how much I fought having a hiking partner, how much I thought I needed to hike alone. But I gotta tell you, I don't think that I would have finished that hike if Let It Be had not been with me. I just needed support at that time. I guess needed somebody to take the wheel when I was having meltdowns. And there were probably a handful of times where I told him I just want to quit. And I got pep talks from him and Mountain Lifer. And I believe that Sir Stops-A-Lot even gave me encouragement about finishing. And they all wanted to see me finish, and that was really touching to me, to have anyone interested in me and me finishing. And that includes all of you. It has meant so much to me to have you all along on this journey. It wouldn't have been the same. So, the other thing that lets me know that this was definitely God's hike and not my own is that He did bring me a hiking partner. When Let It Be asked if he could flip with me up to Katahdin, I thought he was just going to flip and go on. And he did say he wanted to help me finish my hike, but Let It Be and I are so different. We are polar opposites in every way you could ever imagine. And so it took me a few days after I flipped up to Katahdin to realize that he was really there to help me. And one of the things that lets me know that he was brought there by God is the way it all just dropped into my lap. First, Nancy offering to drive me up there. Then Let It Be asking if he could flip up with me. The very thing that I did not want. I didn't want to have to hike with anybody. But I just felt like it was what the Lord wanted, and I tried to go with the flow. And I guess eventually we sort of became hiking partners. And do you know that my one big fear of Maine was the river crossings. I saw all of those nightmare flooded rivers that people were crossing in 2023, and I was terrified. And even in previous videos, I had seen people wading up to their waist. But you know what? Do you know who God sent me for a hiking partner? A former Navy rescue swimmer. And I felt so secure. I was still scared, but I felt so secure having him there, being able to watch how he crossed the river, what path he took, having him decide which was the best way to go, even if it was only rock hopping. And to know that if I got into distress in that water, if anyone could save me, it was him. I will not go into details except to say that Let It Be and I are polar opposites. And preface to say, Let It Be was not your typical angel, but there is no doubt in my mind that God sent him. And I am so grateful. Let It Be is a genuinely kind person, very helpful. I feel like any other man but Bud probably would have said, well, forget you, I'm going to do this. But he was willing to put up with my idiosyncrasies, and I also tried to compromise and sort of meet in the middle. Some days we left early, some days we left later. I tried to take breaks with Let It Be, and there were days where he understood that I needed to not take breaks and I needed to make tracks, and he compromised with that, and I was very grateful that we were able to do that. So I had this hiking partner. He was a very good friend to me, and we were in a sort of a survival situation, and then boom, he's gone. And I probably will never see him again. And so I'm trying to process that as well. It's just a weird thing that I cannot even describe. Except Facebook, where you think you got all of these great friends, you delete Facebook and boom, they're just gone. That was a little easier to take because people are not interacting in real life. They are just online typing, so it's not like you're truly interacting. So my thoughts are a jumble. I'm just trying to be as honest as I can and tell you how I'm feeling and what I'm dealing with, how I'm trying to deal with it. Most of all, I'm trying to keep my eyes on Jesus because, as I've always said, that is where the answer lies. That is where the truth lies. And I am also thrown into current events again. You can't get on the computer without seeing it. It's almost impossible for me to resist. I just feel like I gotta know what's going on, and so much of it is lies. So you don't know what to believe, and there again I come back to, you gotta keep your eyes on Jesus. Be wise as serpents, but harmless as doves. And make sure your oil lamps are full and you are prepared as God directs you, or not. So one of the best things that I've enjoyed coming back to is that every morning Bud and I read a couple of chapters in the Bible and discuss it. We also read a devotional every morning, my utmost for his highest, and I have so missed it. Bud is very smart and knowledgeable, and he can almost always answer my question or look up where he might find the answer or tell me where to look. So that has been something I've really enjoyed coming back home to. And I would also like to take this opportunity to say that Bud held down the fort while I was gone. He did everything I did when I was there, plus taking care of all of my needs while I was on the trail, such as mailing packages, getting something I needed in a package. He made all of my reservations. If there's anything I needed him to look into because I didn't have good internet service, he would do that. And he had to bear all of my emotional burdens as well, because I always dumped on him. And if I had a crisis, it was his crisis too. And he was telling me how high his stress levels have been while I've been gone. He also has a fitness watch that will measure his stress levels. So I'm very grateful to Bud. I could not have done this hike without him. And as much pep talks as I got from trail angels and hikers and friends, I got many, many more pep talks from Bud. And many of those pep talks involved keep your eyes on Jesus, wait and see how he answers. And that is not my strong suit, and you'd think I'd know that by now, but just having that reminder, or the voice of reason, really helped a lot and helped my stress levels, even if it caused his to raise, and for that I'm sorry. So, what else? I would also like to thank each and every one of you for watching my videos. I'm still in awe that anyone was even interested and would watch any of my videos. But you all have been so kind and supportive. I've appreciated your encouragement and your kind comments, and it has meant so much to me. And I've also appreciated each and every one of you who have donated to the coffee fund, and that was something I was not planning. I didn't expect your generosity, but I truly, truly appreciate it. It did allow me the freedom to buy more town meals, or to have a more comfortable stay, or to be able to buy some equipment that failed and I needed to replace. And I am so very grateful. And I do believe that God supplied through you. So thank you for that. What else? I'm not sure how many miles I'm going to do today. I think 9 was too many, even though I'm used to doing much harder terrain and bigger miles. I think my legs, after that 4-day break, were just not ready for it all. So maybe I'll cut this one short. Also, the future of my channel, I don't know. I really didn't want to talk to the camera, but I knew I needed to give you all an update and to just let you know how I was integrating back into normal society, and how things were going at home, and how I was doing. As I have mentioned in comments, I really don't want to continue on with this channel because this was a story of a lady who went on a hike. How God orchestrated the things that happened on that hike, not only for her benefit, but for others' benefit, and to show His power, and to show that He is in control. I was deeply humbled in all the many ways that He showed me this, and showed me that I am nothing. It doesn't matter if I even fail, or I think I'm failing in my eyes. Whatever He wants to happen is going to happen, as long as that is the desire of my heart, that His will be done. So I feel like that story has ended. You got to know me a little bit. The story built. Will she make it or won't she make it? Will she reach her goal or will she not? The only part of the story that I'm still a little confused about is what internal changes I have had. How did I change throughout the hike? But for the most part, I feel like the story has ended. So, I guess that's it for now. Until next time, this is Rebound, signing out.